Hey, this is Buana from Buana.tv, and I want to talk about a new service which launched yesterday, and it's called Identica, IDENTI dot CA. That's actually the URL for this site. Identica is a Twitter clone. This is a Twitter clone that is trying to bring the technology that a lot of people love in Twitter to the open source arena. That's the differentiator for Identica, is that it is an open sourced platform. It's based on the open microblogging standard, which is very, very new. And this project is actually going to be the first project to use the open microblogging platform. Identica launched with a lot of mixed emotions from the Twitter verse, the Twitter community. And personally, I posted a blog post about it, and I stated that in past times, and I'm going to restate it here, that simply because the project's open source doesn't mean it's going to succeed. And I stand by that statement now. Now, this is a good thing, that open source means that the project's going to live on no matter what the source is out there. So if someone else smarter, better than this wants to take it over, they can, as long as they adhere to the license. So with that said, this piece of software that Identica runs on is called Laconica. I believe I'm pronouncing that right. LACONI.ca. And this is the software it runs on. This is the open source. This is what you can run on your own server. Now, why would you want to do that? Now, the premise of the open microblogging standard and this whole setup with Laconica is that it's trying to set up a federated system, meaning that it's a multi-node or a multi-system Twitter. So if you can imagine, if Twitter went down, like it does often, some other node would kick in, and you would notice the difference on your end. That is the pie in the sky failover scenario. Unfortunately, Identica is not completely there yet. From what I've read and what people and the experts have told me, is that it does have basic federation and syncing capabilities, but it's not very robust as it is right now, which I can expect from a version 0.1 piece of software. Now, the big, I guess the big stink is that people think that this is a Twitter killer, and like I said in the beginning of the show, simply because it's open source, and I'm going to add simply because it's proposing a federated architecture, doesn't guarantee that it's going to be successful. Number one, doesn't guarantee it's going to be stable, and number two, definitely doesn't guarantee it's going to be better than Twitter. But it is something to watch. It is something to look at, because this is taking a different direction from these other Twitter clones like Plurk, Jaiku, Pounce, and the billions of other ones that we haven't discussed all that often. Now, given that, this one is getting a lot of attention, namely because it didn't really divert from the Twitter look and feel. If you look at Identica, it looks exactly like Twitter. It behaves exactly like Twitter. I joined Twitter in 2006, very early in when it was born, and this site reminds me exactly what Twitter was like back then, save a couple of features like SMS and direct messaging. I think direct messaging came a little later, but there's other missing features that I talked about on my blog, and I'll mention them here. It doesn't have a replies feature. You can't track your replies. It doesn't have an API. It doesn't have there's no mobile options. I talked about SMS. There's no search. So there's a lot of different things that it doesn't have, but it's like I said, it's a version 0.1. It was released yesterday, and it's open source. So if you feel you want to add some features to Laconica, you can go and get the source and join the community of developers. Now, I guess the next thing to state is, whether Identica is worth joining. A service that I talked about before called Ping.fm supports Identica. So if you want to get your ID, just get your name saved in case it does take off, I suggest you sign up. And if you want to update there, once you use Ping.fm to point to Identica, because it does support it. and just go that route. That's kind of the route I'm taking. I'm keeping my eye very close on the community there. I am posting there via ping.fm, but I'm not, that's not my stomping ground. That's not where I'm going to hang out. I'm still on FriendFeed primarily at the time. But if you feel that you want to get your feet wet with it, then go ahead and sign up at at identi.ca, Identica. Sign up there. You can sign up with your OpenID, which is very cool. You don't have to come up with a new username and password. Or you can just create a new username and password. But if you're going to use ping.fm, you might want to first sign up with an ID and password and then convert it over to an OpenID, because when you sign up with an OpenID, it doesn't give you a password, and if you don't have a password, you can't use ping.fm. And there's a workaround for that, but just save yourself the trouble. The workaround is that you have to reset your password and then you can use ping.fm, but don't go through all that trouble. So that's Identica. You can look me up on there at Identica, identi.ca/Buona. That's where I am everywhere. And look me up there. And like I said, I'm not going to be primarily there, but I am going to be posting there along with Pound, Shaiku, and Plurk. Those are the main ones I have ping.fm going to. Alright, this is Buona from Buona.tv. Identica is the next Twitter clone to watch.